Hi, this is Amanda Hart, and it's my video diary 3. It's 2:45 in the morning, and this is one of my relapse sessions where the insomnia kicks in and my body just goes into overdrive and I can no longer sleep. And actually I had this epiphany as I woke to look back at part of the process, which is what I'm going to incorporate when I start doing this regime in January, to overcome a lot of these symptoms and get my body back to wellness. And part of it that what I wanted to share with you guys is earlier this year I happened to meet a nutritional doctor, and just by getting up she recognised that there was something that she detected as a problem with my gut just by standing. She asked me if I had rheumatism and I said no, and then immediately she said that she felt that that was the what was going on. She said, "Have you ever been diagnosed with leaky gut before syndrome?" And I said, "No, I hadn't." But she said, she asked me what symptoms I had, and when I told her, she said, "You have an autoimmune problem." So when she told me how she would treat it, there was two things. There was diet and repairing the damage, which was to a course of probiotics and other supplements that would help, which is part of what I will be doing. The other one was to actually deal with the emotional side of the situation, which all rings true with all the suggestions that have come to me through consultants and other people who have helped me to identify with this. And the common denominator is that the people I've talked to who are helping me to get all this information together have all said it's all down to early years of trauma or something that has triggered it. A consultant that's doing the pilot study that was on several weeks ago, I was on for a course of 10 treatments. One of the things that he identified with his patients that came to him with conditions such as osteoarthritis was that they all had, at some point in their life, some trauma that later on manifested itself as symptoms in the body, imbalances in the body. So this made me look at something that I had learned from a Dr. Mickle, and I tried out this therapy. He was a mainstream doctor, and he recognised that there were so many underlying issues that were going on related to emotions that he devised this therapy that would help people with chronic pain and or chronic symptoms. And that combined with a diet had helped me to go back to wellness. So I woke up a little while ago and I started to look at this, and I remembered actually why all this came to me tonight. And yesterday was a real emotional meltdown for me. Just the fact that I am a workaholic, so I cram my day with so much, and 75% of my business is all about giving, and much of it is voluntary or non-paid, apart from running a household and family and all the social commitments and everything else, and friendships, all that life brings us. It all amounts to how much energy we expel. And yesterday I had I crammed in trying to work before going out to have lunch with friends, and all the while that I was there, I was very conscious that I had probably about 3 weeks' work to try and cram into 2 days this week, because I've got deadlines and responsibilities to get things to a certain level. It's Christmas. There's only a few more days of trying to get as much work as I can done, etc., etc. And I noticed that during the day I was getting quite overwhelmed with this, and my symptoms were getting worse. I got back to a whole heap of emails and replies that I had to give to people, things I hadn't actually got finished and achieved that day. And as more and more things came in to take my energy, take my time, eventually the straw broke the camel's back and I went into meltdown. And it's not just physical, then it's mental, emotional. And one thing that I recognised was that when the emotions come up, they are there to help us to make choices. And this is what Dr. Mickle's therapy was all about. First of all, it is, as soon as symptoms arise, recognise that the symptoms have arisen and try and identify with them. And usually as a metaphysical practitioner myself, I can see this. So I woke up in the night and I had throbbing, I say in the night an hour ago, with throbbing of my left ankle, real horrible throbbing, which woke me up. It's my left ankle. Left is all about the left side of the body. To me, tells me it is about my inner thoughts. Ankle is all about swiveling, so which direction we go. And because it's the leg from the leg, it's about movement, journey. So this was telling me that while I'm asleep, my subconscious is worrying about which direction. And that's exactly what had come up this evening. With the amount of things that I've got to achieve in such a short period of time, am I going to be able to do it? So I woke up a little while ago with this understanding that I had to go back and look at this therapy, and this is what I'm going to be incorporating. But I'm not going to start in January. I'm going to start it now because I need to work with this, as my symptoms have got to to the point where I can't cope anymore with it. I'm now not sleeping. So the first thing he suggests, as soon as you do that, you make notes, or you set in your mind what it is that's going on. And then you have to take the following actions. So if you note briefly what happens, then you understand the message behind it. You name it. So for me, the emotion that came up today was frustration, overwhelm, anger, anger at myself, guilt, all these emotions and thoughts that come to the surface. I've made a note of those. And then I'm supposed to do something about it. And the first thing is to set boundaries. And that is to say no to unfair treatment by others and use loving disallowance. And that's really interesting, because as soon as I take responsibility for that. So what I did today was I've said no to things that I can't possibly achieve. I've had to say to people, I'm sorry, I can't make that. I can't go to that place at that time. I can't deal with that you want me to look after. So I've had to make that decision. So that's what I've got up for, to say no with loving disallowance. And you have to communicate your emotions honestly. That's the second thing that he suggests. You have to, that's what he calls the facilitator key, which allows you to make that clear, so that once you've set those boundaries, that you've used honesty and authenticity to come to the surface to deal with the situation. And the third thing is to put your own needs first. So for me, what I've done is I have now come down to sort out how I'm going to progress up to Christmas so that I can actually get through and reduce my symptoms as much as possible until eventually I can deal with the physical side, i.e. diet and other practices, as well as start implementing this so I can actually get to January, so I can make a start with all of this. So there you go. So that's not a very difficult challenge or habit to start forming over the next few weeks, I guess. And if you recognize any of this yourself, i.e. perhaps you're doing too much for other people, or you're putting too much time and energy into things that don't serve your highest good, perhaps you are recognizing now when symptoms start to rage, and if you take a step back and ask yourself, what's going on for me at this moment in time, that helps you to understand with what our thoughts are and how we're feeling. And then taking that right action, which is, what do I need to do about this at this time? Do I need to be doing X, Y, Z? Do I need to be giving that time to that energy? To that person? Do I need to be letting myself go through this needlessly? What's the alternative? So it's setting those boundaries, saying no to unfair treatment, perhaps by others, or what we're putting ourselves through, using loving disallowance. So allowing yourself to do it in a state of love. Communicating your emotions honestly, and that's to yourself and also to those around you, to explain that, no, I can't do this, I can't cope with whatever. And then by putting your own needs first, it means that you address the balance. And so it's implementing a balance of needs. Now, I've recognised that I haven't been walking since my dog has been at my mother's this week. I haven't been going out and walking. So I'm just literally getting up, coming downstairs, and I am going through meeting after meeting, after email, doing whatever I'm doing with my business, rushing here, there and everywhere to meetings, but not actually doing the things that I need to do for me. And I'm rushing to try and cram all of that in, hoping that I'll have the time to put myself first. And so that is the upshot of this third episode, really, is to start implementing those keys, to recognise the emotions associated with the symptoms and start doing something about it. So that's what I'm intending to do from now until we start and beyond, to support part of the practices that I will be implementing and the regimes to get back to wellness. So I hope my waffle has made sense to some of you. And excuse my disarray, my just got out of bed look, but I look forward to catching up with you again soon. Keep well.